Dr. Majid Fotuhi is a pioneering neurologist, neuroscientist, and professor with more than 35 years of experience in brain health, memory, neuroplasticity, and the prevention of Alzheimer's. His work bridges research, clinical innovation, and public education. His newest book is The Invincible Brain. Welcome to the show, Majid.
Thanks very much for having me on your show, George. I appreciate it.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us a little bit about your personal lives, more about your work, and what motivated you to put pen to paper and write the book.
Yes, I'm a neurologist at heart, and I'm also a professor at Johns Hopkins, and I love to educate the public about the many ways that they can improve their brain functions. We have come to appreciate that cognitive decline with aging is not inevitable. We see more and more people getting to their 80s and 90s and staying sharp. Only a small percentage of people have genetic reasons for being either super sharp or developing Alzheimer's disease. Most people's cognitive function is actually a matter of how they take care of their brain throughout their life. So I have written three books in the past, and my latest book, The Invincible Brain, summarizes the latest discoveries in this field.
Well, I think that it's very heartening and exciting to know that if I do not wish to decline cognitively, that I don't necessarily have to.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm really pleasantly surprised that most people can really stay sharp in their 80s and 90s. I can't say what happens in our 90s or beyond. Some program cell death happens and things fall apart, and that's genetic. That's just, cockroaches have limited lifespan, fish, zebras, us, everybody has a limited lifespan, and that's you can't change and necessarily don't want to change anyway. But how sharp we stay throughout life is really a matter of what lifestyle choices we choose. And that to me is so exciting.
And as you're looking around at, we'll just use America as our population to talk about. Is that good news? Are our habits promoting healthy functioning cognitively into older age, or not so much?
I think there are pockets of our population that are benefiting from these new discoveries about how you can keep your brain sharp as you get older. And unfortunately, there are pockets of our populations where they're not informed about the link between lifestyle choices and, longevity in general. So, for example, let me tell you about a study that was done in Framingham, Massachusetts. They monitored several thousand patients over time, and they saw that the incidence of Alzheimer's disease is actually declining by 13 to 20%. In other words, even though in that part of Massachusetts, people are living longer, so more people are getting their 80s. Nevertheless, the new number of Alzheimer's disease cases are actually declining. These are people who are educating, they have better educations at childhood, they're eating well, they're exercising, they're sleeping well, and the incidence of Alzheimer's is actually declining. But, parts of the country where obesity, diabetes, hypertension remain still untreated, and many people develop strokes and heart attacks. Unfortunately, those people are having an increased incidence of Alzheimer's disease. More and more people develop dementia because of the health condition they've had. In Western Europe, where more people are, following these new lifestyle recommendations, the incidence of Alzheimer's disease is going down in places like Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, France, Germany. These countries are having fewer Alzheimer's disease cases. And I think if we follow their, way of life, we too will be able to live to our 80s and stay sharp.
How long has this kind of research been going on? It strikes me that as we're living longer, you get the opportunity to do more research, but maybe it's been going on for a long time.
Yes, people have studied aging, for 2000 years. People have always been interested in what happens with aging, what happens to our brain with aging. What has changed in the past 5 to 10 years is that we now have very detailed imaging technology that enables us to look at the brain and see how the brain areas for memory and learning change. See, there's a part of brain called hippocampus, which is the size of your thumb. The one on the right, one on the left. This part of the brain is important for learning and memory. And hippocampus, which is the size of your thumb, can shrink with aging by about 0.5 to 1% per year on average after age 50. So we can actually see how people's hippocampus shrinks in the 50s, 60s, and 70s on average. What's exciting now is that we can also see how this atrophy hippocampus reverse with lifestyle modifications. So, for example, I put together a 12-week brain fitness program where I provided a combination of lifestyle interventions like diet, exercise, brain training, and we provided this for our patients who are mostly in their 60s and 70s in a personalized way. So if somebody had a lot of problems with the sleep, we helped them with their sleep. If they were not challenging their brain that much, we gave them brain games. We also provided all our patients with stress reduction strategies, meditation, breathing exercises. And we saw that within 12 weeks, 84% of our patients, and these are older adults, improved their cognitive functions. And not only that, half the patients increased the size of their hippocampus, but by 1 to 3%. In other words, the brain became younger in 12 weeks, equivalent to someone who is 1 to 3 years younger in brain age. And these are exciting. Even more exciting than that is how these combined lifestyle modifications can change the footprints of Alzheimer's disease in our brains. See, the hallmark of Alzheimer's are these proteins which accumulate and form plaques and tangles, this little piece of gum in the brain. And they cause inflammation, brain death problems. And the new research shows that lifestyle modifications, especially when combined, can reduce these toxic proteins. That's incredible. We can reverse Alzheimer's disease. That's hot. That's hot. That's like, this is breakthrough. And this is published literature. And I wish that there was more emphasis on these publications that are showing how we can reverse Alzheimer's disease.
Well, that's extraordinary. So the hippocampus, why does it shrink for so many people?
Excellent question. Hippocampus is very fragile. See, hippocampus is a part of the brain that's important for learning and memory. So, by its nature, it needs to be malleable. It needs to change because when you learn something new, there are little anatomical changes. So, this part of the brain can't be rigid like for the part of the brain for vision. So, if you see something, we need to always see the same thing, right? We don't want to have the ability to say the same thing differently, right? But the hippocampus needs to have that malleability, needs to have that flexibility. So this is good because we can learn new things. We can learn new things at any age. But it turns out that this part of the brain is also very vulnerable to oxygen and blood flow. So anything that affects blood flow to the brain and levels of oxygen in the brain can shrink this part of the brain. So for example, obesity, diabetes, hypertension, concussions, lonely lifestyle, depression, they all shrink this part of the brain in a dose-dependent manner, which means if you stress a little bit, your hippocampus is good. But if you have a very stressful life every day, your hippocampus shrinks by a lot. If you're a little obese, it's okay. But if you're very obese over a long period of time, it shrinks a lot in a dose-dependent manner. Bigger the belly, the smaller hippocampus. So these are some of the common reasons as to why hippocampus shrinks, but there are also what I call 5 pillars of brain health that can regrow hippocampus. These 5 pillars of brain health are exercise, healthy diet, optimal sleep, sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night, stress reduction, meditation, and brain training. These 5 pillars of brain health have individually been shown to increase the volume of hippocampus. So, what I do in my day-to-day life and what we did for our patients is to help people increase the size of hippocampus, which is like the retirement fund for preventing Alzheimer's disease in the brain. The larger the hippocampus, the less likely you will be to develop Alzheimer's disease.
I think that that's so exciting. It's good news. These are 5 things that probably everybody should do at every age.
That's right.
So if we get into good habits of that anytime, and to your point about that recent study, it sounds like it's not too late.
Yes. See, George, the daily habits change the brain and especially the hippocampus at a microscopic level. So you stress a lot today, or you say to yourself, you know what? I'm not gonna ruin my brain over this. Or you have a cheesecake or have blueberries. Or you take the stairs or you take the elevator. Every little thing you do, you learn something new or just, type it and just get the answers right away. You decide where to go to your destination or just use GPS. Each one of those changes the brain at a microscopic level. However, if you do 1,000 decisions every day and you do these decisions, for 1,000 days, then your hippocampus will measurably change one way or the other. That's what's so exciting, that your daily habits affect your brain size, which then in turn determines if you stay sharp in your 80s and 90s or we develop Alzheimer's disease. I'm in the process of starting a brain superager community. I am trying to put together the logistics of inviting people to come and join me to set the goal of following these 5 pillars of brain health and reach the age of 90 and be sharp. I want to challenge people to think about that on a daily basis with the goal of getting to the age of 90 and be independent. So I'm excited about that.
And for good reason. I'm excited about it too. And everybody else ought to be too. I'm sure that there's lots of different statistics that are floating around out there, some true and some probably not. But I heard something along the lines of past the age of 50, you lose a pretty good chunk of your cognitive abilities and functioning every year. Are you familiar with what that?
Oh, yes, of course. I'm very familiar. There are many different studies, and how much that little brain shrinks and how much cognitive decline happens every year after age 50, slightly different in different studies. But most studies have consistently shown that there is some cognitive decline and some brain atrophy with age. But it doesn't have to be like that.
Right.
See, people used to die in their 40s and 50s. Dr. Alzheimer's, who, describe all these changes, the brain died at the age of 53. So just because people have been doing certain things in a certain way, it doesn't mean that's the way it has to be. See, generally speaking, people slow down when they get their 60s and 70s. And by their 80s, they just, sit by the pool, do some crossword puzzles, don't do anything. But that doesn't mean that that's the way it has to be. You could do things differently. In your 70s, you could say, you know what, I'm going to go play pickleball. I'm going to join a community. I'm going to join an activity group in church. And people who do those things then reverse the effects of aging in the brain. Yes, by default, people slow down, but it doesn't have to be. And that's what's exciting. That's what the big news is, that we don't necessarily have to follow the way things were done in the past. Like, in my 60s, and my grandfather in the 60s, he was like about to die. A lot of people thought your 60s, you're old, your 70s, you're lucky if you make it to 80s. But these days, we know that if you do it, those 5 pillars of brain health, that you can stay healthy and you can enjoy life a lot more than otherwise. See, there's a huge paradigm shift about aging. We used to think that as you age, you just overall decline, and particularly your brain declines, and then you die. It's just how things work. We've learned that it doesn't have to be like that. We know that you die, but we know that you can just have a full life and just die and get over with. And that's what I plan to do. I plan to live to the age of 90 something and just die and get over with in peace. I'm not going to drag a slow decline and then die in a miserable way. I'm going to have a full life, play tennis, ski, enjoy everything, give lectures, travel. And then, my brain and my body says, okay, your lifespan is finished. You just die and get over it. It's that simple. And we know that is the case. This is not hypothetical anymore. See, that's the difference. we have scientific evidence that a lot of symptoms associated with aging are manageable, treatable, and reversible. Yes, by default, things go down, but they don't have to.
Well, what you laid out sounds good to me. One of the things I definitely don't want, like top of the list of it's got to be top five stuff I don't want is to be that old person sitting in the corner at the holidays or whatever, and the grandkids, their mom
Yeah.
says or dad, go say hi to Grandpa George, and they don't
Yeah.
want to because I'm kind of gross and I don't say anything, and I'm just sort of
Yeah.
somebody sat me in a chair. I would
Yeah.
rather be operating at the highest possible level for as long as I can, and then when it's time to be done, that's totally fine.
Yes. I think that is a new paradigm shift. We know for a fact that if you follow those five pillars of brain health, that you will be able to have successful aging, and that there are only very small percentage of people, maybe 5%, maybe 7%, that are either genetically, engineered to be super sharp. They do everything wrong. They smoke, they never exercise, and they seem to be living forever. And the other group where they've done everything right, but they still decline. But that's 5 to 7%. The vast majority of people have the option to live a full life, be energetic, travel, cook, do things, help other people, and be healthy in their 80s and 90s.
Which is really exciting. So, exercise, the proper nutrition, sleep, stress reduction, and brain training. I imagine that you give parameters or prescriptions in each one of those areas, but there's probably some room if I'm a vegetarian or if I whatever it might be. It's just making healthy choices.
That's right. So exercise is a simple one. That's the most important thing. And the more you exercise, the better it is. You don't have to run a marathon to achieve the best results. Latest results from an ongoing study showed that walking 3 to 5 thousand steps a day can reduce those footprints of Alzheimer's in the brain. So setting a lifestyle where you walk about an hour a day, or you go to the gym 3 times a week, or you play pickleball twice a week, about 3 hours of exercise and a daily level of activity. If your life is sedentary, try to make an effort to move, to get up and do things. So in my book, I recommend measuring your VO2 max, which is the level of fitness. You can go to a gym, and these days a lot of smart watches have this already, so you can just find your VO2 max and decide what your VO2 max is. VO2 max is a measure of fitness, and you want to increase that. Then with food, is very simple. Don't eat junk food. Anything else is good. I mean, I have some favorite food, like blueberry is really good for you, and I like dark chocolate is good. And, Mediterranean diet is excellent. But more important than those is don't eat donuts and muffins and poorly prepared pizza. Eat a healthy diet. And people know what healthy is. I mean, if you want to be plant-based, it's good. If you want to be, you know, any other type of diet you choose is fine as long as you don't eat things that are high in trans fat and highly processed food. Don't eat those. So don't eat junk food. Anything else is okay. The differences between different types of diets is small as long as you don't eat junk food. And then sleep, people need to make it a priority. A lot of people say, well, most people don't sleep well. Why? I'm not the only person. Well, just because other people haven't been able to figure it out how to sleep well, it doesn't mean you should be like that. You should be able to sleep. A lot of people are stressed, they have too many things going on in their lives, and the stress and anxiety prevents them to sleep well. Others don't follow sleep hygiene, like don't drink coffee in the afternoon, make sure your room is dark and quiet. Don't put too many things in your bedroom, don't work in your bedroom, don't put a, Peloton machine in your bedroom, keep the bedroom quiet and just for sleeping. And if you can't sleep, there are supplements like magnesium or melatonin that can help in short term, but it's your mind. You need to calm your mind. You need to get in that mode so you can sleep. And then stress reduction is one of the most important thing. And so much of stress is self-induced. We generate our own stress. If you just let a lot of things go, life is just fine. You know, I think a lot of people try to control other people and they're frustrated why other people are not doing what they're supposed to do and they get frustrated. And it's so comforting when you just let it go. Stop expecting other people to do what you want them to do. You're not perfect. So just let them be. Work on your own 5 pillars of brain health and don't worry about it. As parents, we try to control our children, we try to control our spouses. We are not happy with the way our coworkers do things. And all of those things are stresses that we generate by ourselves. Only a fire or COVID or those are real stressors for real. Most other stresses are self-induced. We generate ourselves and we could stop. And if you choose to stop, you will be able to stop or reduce it by a lot. Even meditating for 2 days, 2 minutes a day, can help a lot. And finally, brain training. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So, you know, do crossword puzzles, do Sudoku, take dance classes, participate in activities in the church, teach other people what you know, challenge your brain. It doesn't have to be like rocket science problem solving. Just keep an attitude of being open to learn new things. So if you do all those things, you're keeping your body healthy, inside the cells, you have these organelles called mitochondria, and they generate energy. And the more you exercise, the more ATP you generate, the more mitochondria you have. So, exercise and be active as much as possible. Don't eat junk food. Keep life simple. And if you do those things, you gradually feel calmer and you sleep better. And if you sleep better, you're in a good mood and you're able to manage your time better and set 15, 20 minutes to do some Sudoku or something else to challenge your brain. So it's not that hard to incorporate these in your day-to-day life. What's important thing is that you don't need to buy expensive gadgets. You don't need to go into special places. All these things I told you about are simple. They're very simple. They're simple choices, and they add up.
There's no doubt about that. I think you'll even save money because you're going to stop eating all that junk food and buying sodas and all that other stuff, doctor. So you're going to come out
Uh,
ahead all over the place.
I do not eat sodas. I don't drink any sodas. I don't eat junk food. I can't. I can't. I mean, sometimes sitting with kids and other people, and there's some French fries, and it's really hot and then it's salty, and I know it's not good for me, but so I just have one or two
Sure.
places. Or, they're serving ice cream and it's really looking good. I have one or two spoon. I don't sit and finish a whole bag of chips. I'll never do that. And I think dark chocolate is good, but sugar and candies are not good, and I don't touch them.
Well, I think that everything you laid out is, well, first and foremost, thanks for your work very much. I appreciate it. It's exciting. It's heartening. And next, it's easy to follow. There's nothing that you said that is out of anybody's reach. To your point, it's not expensive. You're not having to hire a trainer or buy some kind of a machine. These are all things that are within our control, and I think it's very empowering. That's probably the word that I was searching for.
Yes,
So
I would
doctor,
like to empower people to take charge of their life, and the good thing about that, if you change these things for 3 weeks, you start feeling sharper, you feel more energy. 3 or 4 weeks of doing these things, not eating junk food alone, can help you, and you don't have to wait years. Of course, if you do it over years, you cultivate a healthier, stronger brain, but you see more energy and feeling sharper in a matter of weeks.
well, doctor, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn more about you? Where can they get their copy of Invincible Brain? And where can they learn about the community that you're working on and the challenge that you mentioned and any other ways that you would recommend people connect?
Yes, I have a website, drfotuhi.com. That's D-R-F as in Frank, O-T as in Tom, U-H-I.com, drfotuhi.com. I have a lot of information on my website. And then my book will be available everywhere, Barnes& and Nobles, Amazon, major bookstores everywhere. And I have some social media platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn as well.
Excellent. If you enjoyed this as much as I did, show Dr. Fotuhi your appreciation. Share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to drfotuhi.com. It's drfotuhi.com. Check out all the great resources that we've been talking about today and pick up your copy of Invincible Brain wherever you buy your books. We will link all those in the notes of the show. Thanks again, Doctor.
My pleasure, George. Thanks for inviting me.
Until next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.